Welcome to this explainer. Okay, so what actually makes a BMX rider fly? We're diving into some fascinating insights from the renowned Bond training camps and Coach Paulus's Diary of a BMX Superhero. And what's really wild is that preventing a catastrophic setback on the track, well, it comes down to a lot more than just pedaling fast. To truly master the sport, a rider has to master gravity, speed, and ultimately, one single golden rule. We're going to unpack the mechanics of this high-speed world and discover the mental framework that keeps riders on their bikes when everything else goes completely chaotic.
So, picture this. You're standing at the start gate. Helmet on, gloves tight. The gate drops, and in a fraction of a second, you are thrust into a blur of color, noise, and pure adrenaline. In that intensely chaotic environment, the margin of error is incredibly unforgiving. What actually separates a perfect, exhilarating championship run from a catastrophic, painful crash? As it turns out, it's a razor-thin line. It isn't just about raw muscle, and it certainly isn't about wildly pedaling as fast as you can. It all comes down to maintaining a very specific state of being.
That state is known as flow. In BMX, flow means your timing, your rhythm, and your balance match the track perfectly. It's when pumping through a dirt roller feels exactly like seamlessly surfing a wave. Now, you cannot just buy flow at a bike shop. There is no magic equipment upgrade that instantly unlocks it. Instead, flow is a state that's strictly earned through mastering a set of core physical skills, skills that eventually become the absolute foundation for surviving the mental pressure of a race. Okay, let's move into section 1, mastering the machine, the foundation of flow. Because everything in BMX builds from the ground up, starting the exact second you leave the gate. Coach Paulus calls this the rocket start. A great start requires explosive acceleration from a perfectly balanced posture, and it all happens in a literal fraction of a second. First, you have the ready position, standing tall with your weight slightly forward. Second, timing the drop, driving through your legs and arms simultaneously like a loaded slingshot. And third, delivering 3 crisp, powerful pedal strokes before settling into your stance. It's the smooth chain reaction, where power travels directly from the brain all the way down to the feet. But looking at Coach Paulus's notes, there's a surprising secret to that explosive power. Tension is actually the absolute enemy of acceleration. If you are stiff and nervous, your power transfer drastically slows down. A relaxed posture, keeping your elbows out and acting like controlled springs, is absolutely essential. You really have to relax before movement. That is a secret every confident rider relies on to prevent an early setback right out of the gate. Coach Paulus hits the nail on the head. Relax your shoulders, the bike knows when to go. Now, what's really interesting here is how these 3 dynamic positions, the ready, attack, and recovery phases, actually form the essential skeleton of style for every single rider. Your BMX bike is highly sensitive. It reacts to every single gram of your body weight. So you have the ready position, which is your balanced home base. Then the attack position, where you drop your chest and bend your elbows into go mode. And finally, the recovery position to reset your breathing. Having perfect posture ensures the bike and the rider move together like one unified machine. And once you have that posture down, you can unlock the science of pumping. Pumping allows you to generate massive speed without taking a single pedal stroke. You are essentially turning your own body into a human suspension system. It's a bit like doing high-speed squats on a roller coaster. You approach a roller in neutral, you compress by pushing your arms and legs down into the dip, and then you extend your legs and arms as the bike climbs the next rise. Downhill equals push down, uphill equals stand light. You're literally surfing the dirt. This balance is your absolute first line of defense against crashing. Perfect weight transfer allows a rider to command the bike using their hips. If you ever try forcing the handlebars instead of using your weight, a setback is imminent. Gravity always wins if you panic. Every single jump, manual and corner, depends on this truth. Shift too far forward and your rear wheel lifts. Too far back, and your front wheel loses steering entirely. Like Coach Paulus says, the bike goes where your weight tells it to go. You really have to treat the track like a dance partner. This is especially true when carving corners. If you go into a berm and try to fight the bike, you are instantly going to lose your momentum or slide out. But if you drop your outside pedal down to anchor your traction and let your body lean with the bike, you start having a conversation with the machine. You aren't forcing the turn, you're directing it. The bike doesn't need force, it needs conversation. All right, let's jump to section 2, taking flight, bridging the gap between ground and air. because eventually all that speed on the ground is going to send you into the air. A jump is not just about raw height. It's about control in 3 dimensions, and it happens in 4 distinct phases. First, the approach. Second, the takeoff, where you compress to preload your suspension. Third, the airtime. And fourth, the landing, where your wheels align with the ground. It's an incredible physics dance. You compress, you extend, you float, and you absorb. And this right here is exactly where those devastating setbacks happen. If you pull on the handlebars in an adrenaline-fueled panic mid-air or lean back too far, you entirely ruin the physics of the jump. Flying naturally triggers your brain's risk signals, sending tension straight into your muscles. You have to calm that primal signal down to stay smooth. Otherwise, the track is going to humble you very, very quickly. A calm, balanced rider always lands smoother than a wild, fearless one. We see this exact same need for calm control in the bunny hop. And this isn't just jumping up and yanking the bike with you. No, it's a precise 2-phase maneuver that creates an illusion of defying gravity. First, you shift your weight back to lift the front wheel, that's the manual phase. Then, as that front wheel peaks, you smoothly scoop the rear wheel up by sliding your feet upward and tucking your knees. It's not about brute strength, it's entirely about lifting the bike around your body like a wave. But executing these airborne mechanics brings us face to face with psychological barriers. The biggest block to clearing an obstacle isn't physical. It's the split second your brain doubts the lift. Fear can cause a rider to freeze up, stiffen their legs, and ultimately end up in the dirt. But as Coach Paulus teaches us, fear is just energy in disguise. It's simply information whispering, focus now. Which brings us to Section 3, the golden rule for preventing setbacks. Now ask yourself this: why do riders suffer major setbacks even when they have technically perfect physical skills? I mean, you can have the most explosive rocket start, the smoothest pumping rhythm, and flawless bunny hop technique, but if you suddenly crumble under race day pressure, none of that physical training matters. The invisible machine driving everything is your mind. If the mind fails, the body follows. It really comes down to the intense contrast between 2 mindsets. When pressure hits, adrenaline triggers a fight, flight, or freeze response. A reacting mindset lets that adrenaline hijack your concentration. You panic, you stiffen up, you fight the bike, and you obsess over winning or crashing. But a commanding mindset, that harnesses the exact same adrenaline. You stay loose, you actively manage your breathing, and you focus entirely on the process of the ride, totally letting go of the outcome. Which brings us to the core revelation, the ultimate golden rule of BMX that we've been building towards this whole time. Command, don't react. Most beginners react to the track. They let the bumps and the speed dictate their movements. Professionals, on the other hand, command it. When you ride with deliberate purpose, you stop fighting the bike and start orchestrating your momentum. Mastering this one rule is the ultimate safeguard that keeps riders safe and fast when the pressure is at its absolute highest. But you can't just wish for a commanding mindset, right? You have to engineer it. Coach Paulus outlines some fascinating mental hacks used by the pros. There's the breath control reset, where a rider inhales for 4 seconds, holds for 2, and exhales for 6 to rapidly lower their heart rate. Or gate pressure simulations, where riders practice sitting at the start gate, training themselves to only explode forward when they achieve calm clarity rather than launching out of panicked anxiety. And the goal of these drills isn't to magically suppress fear, because honestly, that's impossible. The goal is to deeply manage the adrenaline. Champions aren't fearless, they're just highly focused. They've actively trained their neurotransmitters to convert all of that anxious, jittery energy into a bright, stable circle of concentration. And it's just incredible to see this philosophy validated in real-world expert programs. Take the Bond training BMX camps in British Columbia, for example. They don't just run exhausting physical drills all day. They actually train the brain with mindfulness, mental conditioning, and process-oriented goal setting right alongside standard race tactics. They are building a complete commanding rider from the inside out. The real-world feedback perfectly captures why this works. As one BMX mom named Kim noted, the environment isn't a super intense, fear-based space where kids are terrified of making mistakes. It's warm, accepting, and encouraging. It proves that learning the ultimate rule doesn't require a terrifying environment. A process-focused space is precisely what rewires a rider's brain to stay calm under pressure, making them significantly faster and safer on the dirt.
So we've seen how staying relaxed, managing weight transfer, and choosing to command rather than react is the ultimate key to preventing major setbacks on a BMX track. But this rule goes far beyond dirt and bicycles. When pressure hits in your daily life, do you tense up and react to the chaos, or do you breathe and command your next step? Mastering that one golden rule might just prevent your next major setback off the track too. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.